ate much of what they took. Instead, they just trashed the place, as this video obtained by our news partner WTOP shows. We asked the couple what they think of President Trump's plan to federalize city police and deploy more officers and the National Guard.
I'm telling Trump, yeah, just send the boys to been around because this is crazy. And then you see Dollar Tree closing, CVS closed down, 7-Eleven closed down. We trying to put a store in your community, then you do this.
This is the CVS she mentioned that closed. At the next closest one on H Street, you can't even so much as buy a $2 bottle of soap without asking an employee to unlock the display case.
The city keeps saying crime is down, but do you feel safe?
No, I don't think so. Crime is down. Crime is off.
Where? In D.C.? Who told that lie?
They what?
You see these fascists right here in our
Fascists?
Fuck you! Fuck you, fascists! Jay!
A few moments later.
Motherfucker! Oh!
Oh! Oh! It's fucking gun! It's fucking gun!
Boy. So we got to talk about a woke federal employee finding out after deciding to assault a federal agent by throwing a sandwich at the agent in D.C. I guess they're doing this in protest of President Trump's crime crackdown. Again, I don't know why is it that Democrats don't like safety, right? Liberals don't like being safe. They like living in conditions that are very dangerous. But then again, you know what? Now I think about it, they don't have to live in those conditions. Black people have to live in those conditions, okay? And when police are protecting black people, apparently white liberals and black liberals don't like it, okay? Because a lot of them have been sounding the alarm over the fact that during this crime crackdown, you have federal agents and local police. They seem to be focusing on a certain group of people that are, most likely committing a vast majority of the crimes.
Runner!
Who got the fuck? Who just got the fuck? I don't even know. Who just ran, y'all? Who just ran?
He put this man in handcuffs with no reason. Hey, don't push him, y'all. Don't push them. He had no reason to put this man in handcuffs. Illegally detained him. No, he said, look, calm down. Back up. Calm down, y'all. He said he only detained a name, bro. Calm down, y'all.
Yeah, so the crime crackdown is real, right? It is real, but it is necessary. Yes, I know it's hard to see police arresting certain people in certain neighborhoods. I know people get triggered by it, but it's necessary. It's necessary, right? You got to see it, right? You need to see it. You got to see it, right? We got to send a message, right? A message has to be sent because everybody, whether they like to admit it or not, knows that it's necessary, okay? And truth serum has been squirting out here and there on the airways of the liberal media who have repeatedly denied the reality of crime in these liberal cities. But again, everybody knows what the truth is.
So I've worked extensively with police, and I don't have a problem tactically with what Donald Trump is doing here. He doesn't have to be the most dangerous place on earth. Something can be improving, but still really bad. If your house is on fire, and then a third of the fire goes out, it's less bad, but it could still be an emergency. I work in D.C. It is dangerous there. You cannot deny that. And a common police tactic is to surge resources. We call them task forces. They're applauded across the board, across the political board. I've done it in New Jersey. I've done it in New York. You take the FBI, you team them up with the Newark PD, what have you. You make a visible presence. Now, is some of it for appearance and show? Yes, because what it does is A, it assures people. It gives people a bit of confidence and security. And B, it deters people from committing crime. So it's not going to hurt. And this is a situation that needs to be improved. I don't see why there's a problem. And I also reject the January 6th. Look, I've been a 100% unambiguous critic of everything Donald Trump did on January 6th. I believe he should have been charged criminally. I believe the pardons were a disgrace. But why does that mean he can't do anything now to enforce the law to promote public safety?
I think it raises questions about the
Sure,
sincerity
he's a
of his
hypocrite.
commitment.
Fine, he's a hypocrite.
But this is all political theater. None of this
Okay,
is going to fundamentally address the
but
crime problem in D.C.
Would you rather
There is a crime problem.
would you rather have national security out in D.C. where you work?
How about bolstering local police and instead congressional Republicans cut the D.C. budget by $1 billion?
The police union says
Cutting
he's right.
the D.C.
The
budget by $1 billion undermines
right.
local police.
The police union says he's right. You saying the union is wrong?
Right on what?
The police union came out on this action by the president and said, we wholeheartedly support the president. We need the support. Are they right or wrong?
Then bolster local police.
The police
but it's not
union
the function of the FBI.
Is right,
the FBI has to deal with counterterrorism, counterintelligence.
So you're against the police
federal
union.
law.
That's not true. Let me say, that's not true. I've heard that said a lot by the FBI does street operations. People say the FBI, they're chasing terrorists.
Removing
Some
homeless
are.
encampments?
Hold on. I work.
Sanitation?
Hang on. I
Those are
worked with the
local
FBI.
functions.
The FBI does street rips. They do drug buys. They do gun buys. It's part of what they do. It's not a misuse of the FBI.
No, but I think to his point, he's asking, what we're seeing in D.C. is FBI, Border Patrol, they're doing traffic stops. They are clearing homeless encampments. I mean, those types of things.
But also, what cost?
In addition
We don't know
to
the
it.
cost. Where are they being?
No, I mean, that's a fair argument. But these
That's
are
fair.
just.
I mean, that's an essential question to ask.
Yes, I'm saying, look, it's a fair question, but the decision makers get to make this decision. I mean, where's the chief of the Metro PD? Where's the mayor? If they disagree with this, if they thought this was so illegal, unwarranted, inappropriate, why have they not challenged it? Why have they not? They've challenged it rhetorically, but they haven't gone to court on it.
I mean, they have.
You know, the 3,000 strong D.C. cops have embraced this emergency deployment. And they really, if anything, believe that it's late to the game. D.C. has been, with all due respect to our nation's capital, a shithole for a long time. You know, it reminds me of the old LaGuardia Airport that became so ghettoized and so grim and dark and melancholy that you get used to it.
Yeah, and once again, this is why it is really, really, really stupid for Democrats to oppose President Trump on this, because, again, it just makes them look bad, right? It makes them look like the reality deniers that they've been for the past 4 years, okay? Again, there's just some things that they probably should not stand up to President Trump against. This is one of those things, okay? When it comes to crime, right, that is something that really plagues the Democrat Party, and their refusal to acknowledge that, again, is another reason why their party is failing, okay? Why they are in free fall. Again, even CNN is admitting that when it comes to this issue, President Trump is he's ahead of the curve here.
New this morning are showing you an image right there of the federal law enforcement presence outside of Union Station in Washington, D.C. National Guard troops and Humvees very clearly seen. The White House has said that a significantly higher number of National Guard's troops will be seen in the nation's capital today, and they will now be patrolling 24/7, not just having shifts at night. Tackling crime, which is what the president says he's doing here, tackling crime was a key campaign promise and message from Donald Trump. So how do Americans feel about it now as we head into this new chapter? Harry Enton is here. Where do things stand with how people feel about crime right now?
Yeah, I think that Democrats have to get it around their heads that Americans are far more hawkish on crime than they think that they are. What are we talking about? Trump's net approval handling crime. Where was he last year? He was way underwater at minus 13 points views of term number one. But look at where he is now. He's on the positive side of the ledger. He's on the positive side at plus 1 point. Americans view Trump far more favorably now on crime than they did a year ago. And while this polling doesn't take into account what's exactly happening in D.C. right now, it does take into account what happened in Los Angeles, what's happened earlier this year. And Americans, for the most part, actually view Trump favorably. Crime is one of Trump's best issues. It's one of the reasons why he wants to talk about crime, because it favors him.
It will be very interesting when you can see polling that has what's happening and rolling out right now settling in to see
if it moves
what the impact really is, because it's been a lot of messaging is what we've seen. Compare Trump to Biden in handling of crime, please.
Yeah, okay. I think this sort of gives the game away here, because Donald Trump is like Air Jordan towering over Joe Biden when it comes to their handling of crime. Look, in 2024, look at where Biden's net approval was on crime. Way underwater there at minus 26 points. It was one of Biden's worst issues. Granted, pretty much every issue was one of Biden's worst issues. And again, look at where Donald Trump is. Way, way, way above Joe Biden. What is that? That's 27 points. So Americans vastly prefer Donald Trump's approach to crime than they did to Joe Biden's. And again, I think it gets back to the point that Americans are far more hawkish on crime than a lot of Democrats want to admit.
Yeah. So, again, I could have told you this, right? Because, again, common sense, sane people are hawkish on crime, right? We acknowledge the reality that crime is out of control in a lot of these liberal cities. Now, CNN is trying to frame this as if, well, Trump wants to talk about this because this is one of his, good issues or whatever. And it's like, no, we're talking about it because it's a problem, right? We're talking about it because it is an actual real issue that is plaguing this country. And I think that we've been distracted from crime, right? I think that all of the fear-mongering about Trump and all of the other things that the mainstream liberal media wants to talk about are distractions from what we actually should be talking about, again, which is crime. These people are very, very, very flabbergasted by why is it that Fox News is outpacing them when it comes to ratings, right? Well, one of the reasons why is because, again, there are a lot of criticisms of Fox News, but they do talk about crime, right? They do talk about what is happening in these liberal cities. And I think that is part of the reason why they get more viewership, because I think people actually care about that. Now, CNN, MSNBC, regular news, they don't talk about crime, right? Unless there's a mass shooting, they don't talk about it. They don't care at all about it unless, again, they're talking about it in the context of something that can make Democrats look good. Other than that, they are ignoring it. So, it's funny how they continue to acknowledge that, okay, well, President Trump wants to talk about this in order to, I guess, distract from other things, right? But the media keeps falling for it, right? The media has fallen for this hook, line, and sinker, right? Now we're talking about crime, which is good, and we should continue to talk about crime. In fact, we shouldn't stop talking about crime. This should be the number one topic. We should be talking about this every day. Because, again, talking about this every day is actually going to be talking about a real subject that affects people's lives, okay? So, with that being said, the feds and local police, they aren't just cracking down on the juveniles, right? The young scholars, the youth, and hoodlums. They're also cracking down on some of these woke activists that work for the government that think that it's a good idea to attack federal agents because they're upset with the crime crackdown. And this individual who happened to work for the DOJ found out after, again, attacking a federal agent with a sandwich in D.C. Because now this person is facing some jail time for what clearly was an emotional decision. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into this.
Quote, a 14-year-old is a child, full stop. We reject Trump's threats and the criminalization of our youth. But earlier this year, police picked up one 14-year-old girl connected to 2 armed carjackings within 6 hours. Meanwhile, D.C. officials say one man has been charged with a felony assault after he hurled a Subway sandwich at a border agent. Watch.
Mother.
Now we're learning that man allegedly walked up to those agents and called them fascists before the alleged assault. Attorney General Pam Bondi says that the suspect was actually a DOJ employee and has been promptly fired. And U.S. Attorney for Washington, Jeanine Pirro, sharing this message after the incident.
The president's message to the criminals was, if you spit, we hit. Well, we didn't quite do that the other night when an individual went up to one of the federal law enforcement officers and started jumping up and down, screaming at him, berating him, yelling at him. And then he took a Subway sandwich about this big and took it and threw it at the officer. He thought it was funny. Well, he doesn't think it's funny today because we charged him with a felony, assault on a police officer. And we're going to back the police to the hilt. So there, stick your Subway sandwich somewhere else.
Wow. I love that. I can't lie to you. I love that. Judge Jeanine, I think is going to be a pretty good hire for the Trump administration, to be honest with you. She definitely is doing her job perfectly, right? Perfectly. She is doing her job, okay? I love it. Yeah, can you imagine, again, being one of these leftists, right? I mean, and this is a zesty looking fella, right? Throwing your life away because of your Trump derangement, right? Again, you got a job at the DOJ, right? Probably a nice cushy job. I mean, maybe not so cushy because, you know, hey, you know, those Doge cuts, right? But still, right? What was a cushy job, okay? And again, you throw your life away, right? You throw all that away because you want to assault a federal officer, right? You're mad and upset because this person is here to protect you, right? These people are here to protect. Like, that's the point. The point is for people like you to better get a subway safely, right? Without, you know, being killed, okay? Without being mugged, robbed, okay? Raped, okay? Yeah, that's the whole point. The point of why they're there is to protect you. And the appreciation is white liberal shows the federal agents that are there is that he's going to hit them with a Subway sandwich. And see, you know, part of me, that's why I'm kind of like, you know what? Maybe we should just let these liberal cities fall. Just let them fall. Let them become communists. Let them become, you know, the crime-ridden hellholes they already are, but get worse, right? Just let them become Venezuela, basically, right? Let them become what they want to be, right? Let them become that, okay? And maybe, just maybe, they'll learn, okay? Because, again, this is ungrateful. Ungrateful behavior. So, you know, again, I don't think that this was the best decision. But, you know, honestly, I'm not surprised because leftists are basically celebrating this, right? They are now upset that this guy is being charged and he's been held accountable for his actions.
Donald Trump's invasion of Washington just went catastrophically wrong. A man was charged with a felony for throwing a sandwich at a federal agent, and now the man faces 8 years in prison for assaulting a federal police officer. Police say the man confronted a group of Border Patrol federal agents on 14th Street in Northwest D.C. a couple days ago, calling them fascists. During the incident, the report says the man allegedly approached the federal agent and shouted bad words at him, asking him why he was there and telling him he doesn't want the agent in his city. The man then crossed the street for a brief period of time, but returned and allegedly threw a sub-style sandwich at the officer's chest, according to police. The man then attempted to run away but was arrested. The man allegedly confessed while he was being processed at the police station, saying, quote, "I did it. I threw a sandwich," end quote.
Yesterday in D.C., a man was charged with assault for throwing a sandwich at a cop, giving us an all-time great line as he was booked. "I did it. I threw the sandwich." And it feels like now could be a good time to talk about jury nullification again, for no reason. I just don't want to make two different videos. But across the country, people have been and are going to continue to be charged for peacefully or mostly peacefully via sandwich protesting authoritarian overreach in this country. And it's important that you know that you don't have to convict them if you get called to sit on a jury, even if they did the thing. He did it. He threw the sandwich. I'm Rachel. I'm an attorney. This is not legal advice, but I did learn in law school about the concept of jury nullification, which basically means that if you are on a jury and you don't want to convict for whatever reason, even if you are 100% convinced beyond a reasonable doubt that the person did the thing, that the guy threw the sandwich, you are allowed to just vote not guilty. It's like an extension of the necessity or defenses. For a long time, Georgetown law professor Paul Butler has been arguing that juries should always nullify in like low-level drug crimes. He's argued for race-based jury nullification, given race-based disparities in arrests and charges. And there's a website called the Fully Informed Jury Association, which has a bunch of frequently asked questions about it, but very high level. What you need to know is that if you are seated on a jury, there is nothing requiring you to find someone guilty of something, even if they did the thing.
Yeah, so you see that, you heard that, okay? Leftists are probably going to try to make this guy their hero, okay? Even though this guy is certainly not a hero, he's just stupid. He's just dumb, okay? And I think that it is a good thing that the DOJ is making an example out of him, okay? Sending a message to these leftists who want to throw tantrums that, hey, if you feeling froggy and you want to jump, then this is what happens, right? This is exactly what happens. we're not going to let you just get away with it. We're not going to let you slide when it comes to this. And, you know, they can sit around all day long and deflect and want to talk about all these other things that have nothing to do with the crime crisis in D.C. But the reality is that most people, everybody for the most part, most sane people, most people that are living in reality know that these liberal cities have a crime problem. And it's just not going to be good politically for Democrats to stand against stopping crime, right? Because that's essentially what they're standing against right now, okay? This is a mask-off moment where Democrats are showing you that they are not the party of law and order. They are the party of destruction and chaos. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.